Gaius Julius Caesar, 100 to 44 BC, first assumed the role of dictator in 49 BC. However, once he had secured his election as consul for the following year, he resigned after 11 days. After defeating Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC, he was once again appointed dictator, this time for a year. This was followed by a 10-year appointment in 46 BC. Then he assumed the power of dictator for life shortly before his death in early 44 BC. Born into a patrician family on July 13, 100 BC, Caesar began his political career in 73 BC when he was elected to a vacancy in the College of Pontiffs upon the death of his mother's cousin, Gaius Aurelius Cotta. After time spent as a military tribune, he entered the Cursus Honorum, the sequence of Roman government offices in 69 BC, serving as a Quaestor in further Spain. The position garnered him a much-desired seat in the Roman Senate. He was elected an Aedile in 65 BC and a Praetor in 62 BC. A year earlier, in 63 BC, he was named Pontifex Maximus, or the chief priest of the College of Pontiffs. It was an appointment that provided him with a house in the Roman Forum. However, it was a candidacy steeped in both controversy and bribery. In 60 BC, he joined Gnaeus Pompey and Marcus Crassus to form a political alliance, the First Triumvirate. Despite the objections of the more conservative optimates, Caesar became a consul in 59 BC. For the better part of the next decade, he commanded his legions in the conquest of Gaul and on an invasion attempt in Britain. Despite a renewal of their alliance, growing tension between Pompey and Caesar escalated. Pompey was jealous of Caesar's success and fame, while Caesar wanted a return to politics. As Pompey grew to become the favorite of Rome, Caesar emerged as a pariah. On January 7, 49 BC, he was named an enemy of the state by a decree from the Senate. 3 days later, Caesar, with only one legion, crossed the Rubicon and thereby initiated a civil war. Although attempts were made to prevent war, Pompey eventually took a hasty exit from Rome. Caesar assumed the emergency powers of a dictator for 11 days, long enough to secure his election to another consulship. Caesar chased the always elusive Pompey across Europe. Finally, in 48 BC, he defeated his former ally at the Battle of Pharsalus in Greece. Upon returning to Rome, he again was named dictator, his time for a year. It had taken 3 years, but he fought and defeated the Republican forces of Cato the Younger at the Battle of Thapsus, the army of King Pharnaces II of Pontus, and the anti-Caesar forces of Sextus Pompey in Spain. This time, upon entering Rome, Caesar was greeted with open arms. It was a different day, and the people had grown tired of war. They simply wanted peace. He was hailed as a hero. Honors were heaped upon Caesar. A Roman triumph was celebrated for each of his campaigns: Gaul, Pontus, Egypt, and Africa. He was called a liberator and the father of his country. A new temple of Venus was dedicated, and he treated the citizenry to a festival, games, gladiatorial contests, and stage plays. In September of 46 BC, he was again named dictator, but this time for 10 years. However, in February of 44 BC, 1 month before his death, he was named dictator for life. It was an unprecedented appointment, and something many would soon rethink. He accumulated an extraordinary list of honors, not a few of which were unprecedented, and too many of which suggested that he aimed at regal or divine status. No one knew what Caesar planned to do because no one knew how the Roman Republic was to be healed of the wounds of civil war. As Caesar's power grew, and it became obvious that he was not going to return Rome to its glory of the old republic as promised, the Roman Senate decided that it was necessary to rescind some of the powers they had granted. The Roman nobility, naive or not, could not imagine Caesar refusing. He no longer cared about the opinions of the Senate. While many wanted Rome to return to a government of laws, Caesar disagreed, believing that only his genius offered the people of the empire peace and prosperity. Even though he later expanded the size of the Senate, he believed the Senate had kept Rome from making necessary reforms. His opponents, the optimates, disagreed. To them, the Senate had made Rome wise and free. While he did not respect its authority, the Senate granted him all of his honors. Caesar believed in his intelligence and felt that only a man of wisdom and talent could initiate the necessary reforms. And in his mind, he was that man. Although Caesar wanted the powers of a king, he did not want the title and refused to be addressed as such. While his title of dictator for life violated the Roman constitution, he believed it served the public good. Owing to his time as a military commander, Caesar demonstrated that he was not one to sit idly, and this belief can best be seen early in his role as a dictator. During that time, he initiated some civic and social reforms, affecting almost every facet of daily life in ancient Rome. While these reforms made him popular among the commoners, they brought panic to many of his enemies and even some of his friends. He also increased the number of quaestors, aediles, and praetors. To increase the number of middle-class professionals, he granted citizenship to physicians and teachers who settled in the city. He encouraged large farm owners to hire more free laborers, becoming less dependent on slave labor. He banned auctioneers, grave diggers, fencing teachers, pimps, and actors from serving as magistrates. Lastly, he excluded members of the lower class from serving on juries. Caesar extended Roman citizenship to leading citizens of Gaul and Spain and established citizen colonies. Farmers, skilled craftspeople, and professionals were invited to settle in Italy, while idle poor from the Roman slums were given incentives to move to one of the new colonies in Spain, Gaul, Africa, or Greece.